Thanks for getting back to me, Mikayla.
Yep.
You said you've had a few noises and you had a sheep mutilated. Was that right?
Yeah. So I reckon about a year ago we started hearing what we assume is a thylacine noise, like bark, which my sister originally thought was a demon, and she freaked out. But we were like, my dad was like, nah, probably a possum, whatever. But I kept hearing it, and I would like look out my window, and nothing was there. I couldn't see anything. But yeah, so last week Saturday, I saw that we had a dead sheep, and we've got about 16 at the moment.
Yep.
So we had the dead sheep, and it had died. We don't know how it died, but it wasn't killed or anything. But that one was there, and then when we went to look at that one and bury it, we noticed that there was one near our dam, and it had been killed. There was blood kind of up the hill with its wool, and then it was literally eaten all the way down to its bones. Its eyeballs were gone. Even its ribcage was like pretty much eaten all the way down. Its hoof was eaten, and its leg was completely ripped off on the other side of the dam.
Wow. How long do you reckon it was dead there before you found it?
Well, we counted, so on the Friday night, my parents went away.
Yep.
And we counted 14. And then the Saturday morning when I got up, I counted 13 plus the one that was already dead. So it would have been Saturday night that one was eaten.
Yep.
And when we went to have a look at that one, then we went to look at the other one that was already dead, it wasn't killed, had its leg ripped off, it had its faces eaten, and pretty much most of it, like stomach and back, was eaten down to its bones, and it was moved from where it was moved from a full 180 and moved up the hill. And then its leg was ripped off and moved another spot.
Okay, so how far was the carcass moved, do you think, in metres?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Okay, so it wasn't dragged a huge away. Now, this weird noise that you've heard, tell me about that.
It's weird. I've never heard it like anything like it before. It's very short and loud and like husky almost.
So, is it a little bit like this?
Yeah. What I originally thought it was I thought it was a sheep coughing.
Yep.
And then it started to get louder, and then I thought, maybe a fox has got a sheep by its jaw, like by its neck, and that's it, like calling, but like
Can't get away, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But then that night that I had heard it, and like I had heard it a few nights in a row, we didn't have any dead sheep, and we had the same amount of sheep. So I was like, oh, okay, so it's not something being eaten.
Yep.
And I didn't know what it was, and then my dad was like, oh, it's probably a possum or something. Oh, he probably dropped it. And then our next door neighbour, who lives about, I reckon she's about 200 metres from our house.
Yep.
She's on the next property over. She's got 10 acres and we've got 5.
Yep.
But she actually rang Dad in hysterics about maybe 2 years ago and said she saw a like dusty kind of beige brown animal with stripes on its back and a weird tail.
Wow.
Going through her bushes into her, like, and then up through the paddock. And she was like, oh my God, it's a Tasmanian tiger. Oh my God, I'm gonna, like, I didn't want to leave the house. Made Dad go up the bush got the guy from across the road with a gun. They had to, like, roam her paddock, make sure it wasn't there. And then Dad, obviously, not being like a couple of years ago, being like, serious things like, you know, what are you talking about? Crazy woman.
Yeah. The normal
thing.
thing.
There's nothing here. And then now, I said, heard the noises probably starting about a year, 6 months ago.
Yep.
And then now we've had
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we've had 3 sheep in probably the last week be completely eaten pretty much down to the bone.
You said there, do you reckon there's more than one, do you? Have you got any reason to think there's more than one?
Not so much that I think there's more than one. Dad kind of said, like, because, like, our sheep are pretty healthy, so pretty much one sheep would weigh at least 20 to, 30 kilos worth of meat, plus, cartilage and that kind of thing. So it was all the way down.
Yeah.
And organs on top of that. So he was kind of like, there's no way that one animal could eat all of that by itself.
Yeah.
Which he was kind of like, maybe it's a pack of wild dogs. But then the second night that we had the second sheep die, we had the front door open, which is like right near the paddock. And Dad was like, oh, if anything happens, I'll be able to hear it because the door's open. And no one heard anything.
Yet something still happened.
So, a sheep was completely like killed, dragged halfway, and then eaten.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you've definitely got a bit of activity there. Have you had any roos on the property with their heads missing?
No, we haven't really had. I think we've only had 2 roos on our property ever since we've been there.
Okay.
Because ours is we're in a gully, so we're not really like plains. I reckon I was still working down in Glenelg at the point, so probably about 3 years ago.
Yep.
I came home after a late night, because I'm a hairdresser, so I work 9 to 9.
Yep.
And I came home after a late night, and I pulled in the driveway, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it was, but I remember being like, that is a huge fox, like huge. But it was bigger than our dog, and we've got a Doberman.
Yeah, right. It was pretty big then.
It was huge. So I was like, and I said to Mum, the only thing I remember is that I assumed it was a fox because I didn't think of anything else. I said it was massive, it was bigger than a dog, and I said its tail was as long as its body and it had a massive head. And that's all I remember. I don't remember colourings, but it was at night.
Yeah.
So, and it looked at my car, and it must have, obviously it ran off, but I can't tell you how it ran. But yeah, I just remember being like, oh my God, that is massive. And then Mum asked, she said, was its tail fluffy like a fox? And I said, I can't remember. I just remember it being as long as its body, and it would have been 1.5 meters long. It had short legs. Whatever it was, its body, compared to its legs were shorter. Like they weren't long.
Yeah.
Like obviously you see Dobermans, and they have the stomach that goes up.
Yes.
Into their back legs.
Yeah.
It didn't have that. It was very straight. Almost like how I would describe it is how lionesses are shaped, almost.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like they're quite straight, yeah, like that. But I don't remember the colouring, and I don't remember the face, but it looked at me, so I didn't see a side profile of its head. I only saw face on.
Was it in the headlights?
Yeah, it was in the headlights.
Did you see eye shine?
Yeah.
Now I'm pushing you.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, a little bit.
Can you remember if the eye shine stood out for any reason at all?
Well, they were red.
They were red, were they?
They were like. I deal with my dog. Like if I've always said like if they're carnivores, their eyes shine red. If they're not, they're green. But my dog, hers are half like green and reddish. It was like that.
Okay. Usually with carnivores, they've got pretty bright eyes when you hit them with the headlights. I'm not saying what you saw wasn't a carnivore. It's just a feature that people often describe, or they'll say it had particular colour eyes. Straight away they'll say that. It just depends. I've had 3 sightings in this year where people have been together, a couple, and they've both noticed different things about the animal. They've noticed some things together, but one will have spotted one bit and the other didn't. So it's really interesting what grabs people's attention.
Yeah, what you remember.
Yeah.
I just remember how big it was. I remember pulling up and I remember like in my car by myself being like, that is a huge fox. Oh my God. And like I was like, oh my God, that's massive. And I was saying it the whole way in the house, and I was like, I swear, the biggest fox I've ever seen in my life.
Well, that sounds really, really interesting, and I'm really glad that you rang. If you do hear weird noises at night and you can get your voice recorder onto it with your phone, by all means get a recording of it. That'd be golden if you do. We've got a few audio noises. I haven't got a real good recording of that raspy bark that they do, but there's a couple of synthetic ones that sound pretty similar to it on YouTube. If you hunt around, you'll find it. We've got some audio of them yipping when they hunt together, and they make this yip 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 noise. We've got.
Do they hunt together?
They do sometimes, yes. That sometimes the whole family will hunt as a family when they've got two. The young stay with the mum till they're about 2.5, 3, so they've got to learn to hunt. And when they're teaching them to hunt, they make this yip yip noise as they're running through the valley or whatever, chasing a wallaby down or a kangaroo, you know. But we find lots of we find lots of headless kangaroos in the Adelaide Hills. It's pretty commonplace. I'm from Adelaide, but I'm in Tassie at the moment. But yeah, I grew up in Adelaide, so I know the area really well. So but yeah, all the way back up to Mount Bold and right through further north, there's sightings just right through there. They go right through. So don't think you're crazy, because you're not. You've obviously got something going on there. Awesome. All right, keep an ear out and good luck.
No worries. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks for your call.
See you later.
See ya.